Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to another video for Teamfight Tactics. Well, for a change, there's actually some footage taken from one of my games. This is taken from a normal game, and it is from the very first day of a new patch. This is, I think, the 12.20 patch. I can't remember the exact number, but a couple things that are new in this patch. One of the big things is they have added these multiple portals, like this one, Ionian Duet. It's a combination of two other portals that have been around. Both a unit on your bench can contribute traits to your board. Also choose an emblem of the traits from one of your units. Now, I did not choose to pick this one. I didn't want to play that because I thought it would just be a little bit silly. But it turns out that that's the choice anyway, so it looks like we're going to be playing that. And you're going to get a chance to see one of these double portals. They're only in normal games right now. The Riot developers typically start doing this at the end of the set. They'll start doing what they call for fun patches, which are not very balanced, but just start like doing all sorts of crazy things. They introduced this with 40 days to go in the set, which I think is a pretty good sign that set 9.5 is not doing very well if they're introducing one of these wacky features with like almost half of the set still remaining left to go. All right, so that's one of the things that was added in this particular patch. Other big thing is balance purposes. Multicasters were reworked. They were not reworked very well. They are extremely overpowered, and they are almost certainly going to get some kind of hotfix nerf. But it was immediately obvious in the data that they were overpowered. I had a little bit of time today, the day that the patch came out. So I was like, all right, let's go ahead and get into a game, just test this out, see if we can find out just how busted these multicasters are. So I'm going to be playing a multicaster game. This will probably look similar in some respects to if you watched Myth sent me a replay of Multicaster Reroll. So in some respects this is going to look like this, but there were some tweaks to how the trait functioned. And of course then we have this double portal, which is also going to change things up somewhat. So the two aspects of this, one of them is the Ionian Willow Grove, or it was used to be called something like that. The rightmost slot on the bench contributes traits to your board. So, for example, right now I'm putting the Sork trait in play by having Malzahar stand over there. I already have a plan for what I'm going to do with this. And I'm also going to get an additional emblem for any trait that I want later on in the game. Okay, select an augment. I went ahead and picked Ezreal just because I had heard that Ezreal does well with this setup. But I end up not picking Ezreal. I end up taking the Jeweled Lotus. Your spells can critically strike because multicasters all deal magic damage, and it's a really good fit for that board. All right, so here out of the gate, I'm going to look to go ahead and level early on. I want to level to 4 because I want to increase the odds of finding 2 and 3 cost units. Now, typically when you're playing a reroll build, you try to stay at a lower level, but multicasters are not a 1 cost reroll build. They are a 2 and 3 cost reroll build. So we actually do want to get to a higher level. We don't want to stay at level 3 where we really just have odds to find 1 cost. I want to increase my level so I can have much better chances to find 2 cost and 3 cost units because all of the multicaster units are 2 cost or 3 cost units. At the 2 cost tier, you have Talia and Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is typically the main carry when you're playing this setup. And then at the 3 cost tier, you have Vel'Koz and Sona. In this patch that just came out, there were big buffs to Sona and Talia. They both got buffed. There was a small nerf to Twisted Fate. But then the trait itself also got reworked, which I'll talk more about when I actually have the trait in play. So I've not found any multicaster units yet, and I'm just playing kind of this random board that I put together, all 1-stars, mostly playing around the Taric that popped out of that initial orb. And then I also have a random 2-star Melio here. Now I do find 1 Talia, so that's not bad. I will hold on to that. And there's also a Nico here in the shop. So I was like, all right, well, I might as well go ahead and play that. We can put the... I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this. I believe it's pronounced Ishtal, like the X being pronounced like an SH, but I could be wrong. Could just be Ixtal, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced Ishtal. But yeah, so I'm not exactly sure. But this is one of the 2 new traits added in this set, in the mid-set update in set 9.5. It's not really gotten a lot of play yet. I'm expecting in one of the upcoming patches they will just buff this trait into absurd overpowered status because that's what the developers always do. They always want to feature every trait in every unit at some point in times, but it's been pretty underwhelming so far throughout the set. Melio has not really been that great of a unit. I know that there's some reroll builds that rely on Melio, but I don't think he's gotten a lot of play. Nico has been a very underpowered unit throughout this set so far. The only one of these units that people have typically played is Kiana, and she's really just played in rogue comps. But Kiana has seen a decent amount of play when people are playing rogues. All right, one thing that's not so great in this setup here, by the way, I could actually put in Kiana for a 3 Ixtal, but that's not the direction I'm looking to go here. This trait puts a little elemental hex on the board. Again, call back to set 2, Rise of the Elements, and the units that stand in there get some kind of benefit. This is the wood one, which grants additional max HP to the units that stand in there. This has been a popular one for people doing Cho'Gath reroll, is if it's a wood Ishtal portal, then people reroll for Cho'Gath, and then they also reroll for Melio. It's like Cho'Gath, Melio, and Malzahar. People will reroll for the 3 of them at the 1-cost tier. So that's a possibility in this game, but that's not the direction I'm looking to go. Now, I was hoping I could win this round because I'd be able to get up to 10 gold. It does not look like that's going to happen. Maybe if Cassiopeia beats the Neferi over there, but no, that does not end up happening. Again, not shocking, my board is mostly 1-star units. This person's board has several 2 stars. At least I was able to kill a couple units, but I'm not able to beat that Void board. And I can't, unfortunately, sell anything. I guess I could sell the Mauls, but I didn't want to sell that because it is providing Sork trait, and there's no guarantee I'm going to be able to get another Sork unit after this. So modest win streak comes to an end, and it looks like I lost the tiebreaker. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It looks like I'm going to be 3rd pick. There was no tiebreaker. Oh, no, there was a tiebreaker there. Unfortunately, the unit I want is that Sona. I really want the Sona with the tier, but I don't get that. So I end up grabbing this belt as just a random frontline item, and then immediately after I grabbed that, I was like, wait, there was a Vel'Koz on that. There was a Vel'Koz with a vest. I could have taken that, and then I also would have had a frontline item, but I would have had a Vel'Koz I could have played, and I was like, geez, that is not what I wanted there at all. Oof. So not getting the Vel'Koz there actually turns out to be kind of a big deal because I could have gotten Multicaster trait in play right away, and then I could have looked to start itemizing the Vel'Koz. Anyway, I definitely wanted the tier, and the reason for that is this is a comp that's pretty item dependent. The Multicasters mostly have fairly low mana costs, and you really want to get a blue buff on, honestly, as many of them as possible. The blue buff is very good on Twisted Fate. It's very good on Talia. It's not bad on Vel'Koz either. So you can really use as many as like 3 blue buffs. It's not as good on Sona. She has higher mana cost. But most of the multicasters really benefit from a blue buff. So I very much wanted to get a tier there, so that would be half of a blue buff. Instead, my items are not really what I wanted. I ended up getting a bow. Bows are probably the single least valuable component in this team composition. No, so bows not that useful. I think I can make like Giant Slayer, and that's about it. It's a little bit of a shame that you can't make Zerat Portal anymore, because I actually would not mind making Zerat Portal with this setup, but that is not a makeable item anymore. All right, I'm trying to get some of the pieces to play this board. Again, I really just have the Talia right now. I am not seeing the multicaster units. This is honestly pretty unlucky from a standpoint of finding the units. I have good shop odds to find them here at level 5. The 2-cost units are 33% odds. The 3-cost units are 20% odds. I've been seeing a lot of 2 and 3-cost units in my stores, but I'm not finding the ones I need. I need to find the multicaster units and then the utility units that go along with them. The ones that are important in the early game are Swain and Galio are the 2 that I need. Well, I found 1 Galio, and that's it. I did pick up a Misfortune as well, and the reason for that is Misfortune is the unit that's going to go on the Ionian Willow Grove. I thought about this, and I was like, okay, I could in theory put a multicaster unit on the Grove. Then I would only have to play 3 multicaster units to get the 4 multicaster benefit. But I actually don't want to do that. I actually do want to play all the multicaster units, especially after they got buffed. They're actually pretty strong. By the way, this is a close round, but I mean, Tarek has no damage, so he can't kill Graves, unfortunately. So I'm going to lose that round. I'm actually on a 3-match losing streak, but I haven't lost very much health, so that's good. Now I haven't actually what was I going to say there? Jeez. I was going to say I haven't actually lost that much health considering I've lost some of these units. Anyway, I'm going to start hoping to transfer over into my setup here. So I'm going to ditch the Tarek, ditch the Nico, and I'm going to rely on Swain and Galio for frontline. So again, this is the typical setup: is you play Swain and Galio for frontline, then you want a random additional unit that has Demacia trait, because then you can get a Radiant item. Ideally, you want Jarvan, because Jarvan has a Strategist for his other trait, but Jarvan usually won't come along until a bit later. So and by the way, I do get a tier here, but look, I'm on 29 gold. There we go. Managed to sell the Malzahar. Again, still not really finding multicasters, so I guess I'm going to have to itemize the Melio for the time being until I can find some multicasters, and then we'll have to put our tank items on the Swain there. But like, this is a very weak board right now. I have all 1-stars except Melio. I don't have a blue buff. I have decent tank items for the Swain, but Swain's a 1-star unit. So again, this is really not what I'm looking for here. As far as the Willow Grove goes, I'm planning on using it for Strategist. Misfortune does not get played in this comp. The other strategists do get played eventually. Azir not until level 8, which is going to take a long time to get to that point. But Misfortune can stand over there and give me another rank of the Strategist trait, which is pretty nice. And I just plan to keep her there the whole game. I doubt I can get anyone else that's better than that. And remember, I'm going to get a free emblem as well on, I think it's stage 3-5. So I'm going to use that for another Strategist emblem. And that'll, at the very least, let me pay 3 Strategists. If I can get Jarvan in, that'll be 4 Strategists. And then there's the possibility of getting Azir in the late game for 5 Strategists, which would be pretty nice. I think that's the best that I can do there. All right, it's time for another augment, so we'll go ahead and take a look at what's here. Radiant Relics, I don't think I want that. Double Trouble is actually pretty good with Talia, but I've never felt comfortable playing that. Out of these options, I thought about the Giant Grab Bag, but I was like, you know what? I think that just getting the extra health would be really valuable here. So I'm going to go to 6. I'm going to level. I'm going to try to find my multicasters. There's Sona, so we'll put her on the board. But I really need to find some other unit. There's a Twisted Fate, so we can get that and play that. And now the Cassiopeia can come off the board. I'm also going to put this bow on Galio, just because, remember, I now have a prismatic augment that's plus 500 HP for any unit holding an item. And there's a Vel'Koz, so we can put that in, and there we go. Now we have the basis for this setup. We have 4 multicaster, and we also have the Sork trait in from Swain plus Vel'Koz. And then we also have Strategist trait because Misfortune's contributing that from the bench. So in terms of units, now I have all of the immediate core units that you want to play on this board. And then the one other unit that's super key is the Jarvan. Jarvan gives Demacia trait for the Radiant item, and then also adds another rank of Strategist. So here's the problem, though. Every single unit is 1 star. And so I was up against a challenger board that round, and it just immediately tears right through my team. Now, I keep seeing all these misfortunes, which is not helpful here. I need 1 misfortune so she can stand in the Willow Grove and contribute Strategist trait. But more misfortunes are not needed. Like, putting a 2-star MF there does nothing. So I really just need the 1 misfortune, and that's it. So, again, I am just not finding these multicaster units. I guess I found 1 copy of each unit. So, okay, I mean, I guess that's something, but to have found 1 copy of each unit at this point in time in the game is not especially great. I guess that I do have the champion duplicator there, so that's nice, and maybe I should have thought about taking the Ezreal option, because that Ezreal option that I could have taken would have given me some additional item components, and it also would have given me another champion duplicator, so I actually would have had 2 of them. So that could have been useful. But ultimately, I did want something that gave me combat bonus. By the way, this fight is really close, but Soraka actually ends up winning it. I was like, oh, okay. The good news is it's a good loss. Again, I take the minimum amount of health loss possible. The bad news is I still took damage. I'm actually on a 6-match losing streak here. All right, the good news is I am second pick. There's 2 tiers, so obviously I'm going to get one of these 2 tiers, right? The Neela gets grabbed. And then I was like, what? I'm second pick, there's double tiers, I can't even get a tier, are you kidding me? And then I just grabbed the Sona so I can pick up another Sona, but I think this was actually a mistake. I think I should have grabbed one of the swords, because then I could have used the bow that I had for a Giant Slayer. I could have actually removed the bow off the Galio and made a Giant Slayer with that, whereas the rod, or the glove, I don't really know what I'm going to do with right now. All right, well, here we're at least going to get the Scroll of Knowledge, so we can use this to pick up any emblem we want. I will take the Strategist emblem, and then I realize this really should go on Galio, shouldn't it? So Strategist doesn't actually matter what unit I put this on. It's just that by putting it on Galio, I give him 150 health from the emblem, and then another 600 health from my prismatic augment. So he gains 650 health from having that, which is just useful for a frontliner to have. So now we're 4 multicaster, 3 strategists, 2 sorks. But again, every single unit is 1-star, and the fact that I ended up having to take a glove from that carousel really, really, really hurt me. It would have been so much better if I could have gotten that tier, because then I could have made a blue buff on Twisted Fate, and it just makes such a big difference in terms of how often he casts. Like, this fight is very, very close, but it just takes so long for my units to cast that TF's going to end up dying. And like, if TF has a blue buff, we 100% win that fight. Again, it's a good loss. I barely take any damage, but the problem is now I'm on a 7-match losing streak. I was like, all right, I'm losing so much health here. I also have 4 pairs sitting on my bench. I have a Vel'Koz pair, a Sona pair, a Galio pair, and a Swain pair. So I decided, you know what, let's just roll a little bit of gold so we can try to hit some of these. I realize I'm right before a minion round, so it would be good to carry the loss streak into the minion round. But I'm also on 57 health. I'm losing a lot of health here. So at some point, I really do need to make sure I can stabilize and stop bleeding out so much health in these rounds. Because, you know, you do only get 100 health to play around with. Unfortunately, I'm up against the rogue player. This is the person who had the Graves that narrowly beat my Tark early on in the game. But they've actually they have 4 rogues in. I believe they have 4 gunners in as well, with them getting gunner from some of their side benefits. And with 3-star Graves having those items, there's no chance I can win this round. So I'm going to lose this, and that actually is a bad loss. And now I'm down to 45 health and 8-match losing streak. I was like, oh my god. I know that multicasters are really strong. They're actually uncontested in this lobby. No one is playing multicasters, so it shouldn't be that hard to hit these units. It really shouldn't be. But man, I am really struggling here. All right, while we have the minion round, let me go ahead and cover the multicaster trait. So this was changed in this patch. Previously, multicaster just had 2 tiers, multicaster 2 and multicaster 4. Multicaster 2, the multicasters would cast 1 extra time. Multicaster 4, they would cast 2 extra times. And I think each time it was at like half effectiveness, 60% effectiveness, something like that. So now what the trait does is Multicaster 2, 1 extra cast, 55% reduced effectiveness. Multicaster 3, extra cast, 30% reduced effectiveness. Multicaster 4, 1 extra cast, 20% reduced effectiveness. And multicaster attacks grant 5 bonus mana. That is pretty wild that that would happen. So this trait was pretty obviously overbuffed here. Anyway, I was able to roll a little bit there. I did manage to hit the 2-star Twisted Fate and the 2-star Vel'Koz, but look at these items. Oh my god. I got another bow, and then frontline items, another glove. I have no tiers and no rods. Are you kidding me? Remember, I got my tier off the carousel. I didn't, or wait a minute, no, did I get that from the carousel? Actually, I think that was an item drop. But no rods the entire game and just the 1 tier. This is really not good for playing this setup. Double bows is horrifically bad. The gloves I can't really do that much with. It's just not the setup that I want to be playing this game. These items are trolling me pretty hard, and I certainly have not had great luck in terms of actually finding these units. I guess I have managed to 2-star my multicasters, but I am a long, long way away from 3-starring any of these multicasters. All right, so what are our options here? Let's see. We've got a Sork Crest. That's not really going to help me. I don't really want to play 4 Sorks. 3's a crowd. I don't really play a lot of tier 3 units in this build. I play a lot of tier 2 units. So I go ahead and take the support armory option. I was like, all right, well, let's see. Zeke's Herald, additional attack speed. That wouldn't be bad. Virtue of the Martyr, your team heals for max health. But this is actually not a great fit because units attack. The fights tend to be very fast with this setup. It's not a drawn-out tank setup. The Shroud of Stillness always good, but then I see Obsidian Cleaver. Damage shreds and sunders enemies, and your units also gain a little bit of AP. I was like, you know what? I think this is actually really good for my setup here. Number one, because I can put it on a unit, and then they'll gain 500 additional health. So getting an extra item is pretty good here. The other reason is I have no shred in my comp right now. I do not have an ionic spark, which is an item that would be good because this whole comp is magic damage. But like I don't have a static shiv, and I'm not going to build static shiv because I need to save my tiers for blue buffs. So I'm not going to get magic shred that way. And it does not look like I'm going to be able to make Ionian Spark because I have no rods and no cloaks. By the way, this person already has 8 Void in on 4-2. Yeah, that's the effect of getting the Void emblem and being able to put a unit on the Willow Grove. Lets you get vertical traits in much sooner. So I was like, oh my god, this already have whatchamacallit. And by the way, 2 legendary units at 1% odds, but I can't use either of them. But anyway, yeah, already had 8 Void in early on in the game. So now I'm rolling. I really need to find a Jarvan. Instead, I find a Azir. Now, Azir does give me 4 strategists, so like that's not terrible, but I really need the front line that Jarvan provides. And then I just hit 2-star Azir, so I was like, all right, well, I mean, I guess I'll play this unit for now. But again, it's really Jarvan is the unit I need. Azir, I would put in at level 8, not level 7. So, oof. Like I said, I just don't have enough front line for this build. I have 2-star Swain, but I mean, Swain's not that tanky. I guess he gets the strategist shield, which helps. And then I have a 1-star Galio. Like, this is not enough front line. There's no no radiant item helping me out. And by the way, look how close this fight is. But once again, I narrowly lose. So I was like, geez. I'm just bleeding out so much health here. I feel like my board is not that far away from being strong, but I really feel like I've been trolled on the items. I can't find the units in this game. If I could just find all the stuff I need, if I could just get the items I need and some more of these champions. But I do feel like I'm really not hitting in this lobby, given that no one else is playing the multicasters. Anyway, I am first pick. That's the only benefit for being so low on health. And this time I am able to finally get another tier. So we're going to use this to make blue buff on Twisted Fate. There is a pretty good argument for, instead of taking Ezreal as your legend, for taking Twisted Fate as your legend, and then taking Pandora's items. That would reduce the variance of getting trolled on items like this. Now, that said, I do think that I actually have pretty good item augments overall. Like, the Jeweled Gauntlet is really nice because I have not built any spell crit into my board. So the fact that all the multicasters can crit is really nice. By the way, I'm still rolling here. I am not strong enough. I'm going to try to pick up some of these units, but like again, I'm not close to 3-starring any of these. Ultimately, I make the decision I have to play Jarvan over Azir. There's no way I'm getting to level 8 anytime soon, and Jarvan's just too important because he's going to give me the free Radiant item. I'm trying to decide who to put it on. It actually continues to go on Sona because she has the Obsidian Cleaver. So I was like, all right, well, Jarvan needs more health. He can have the bow that's going to give him 500 additional health. So all of my frontliners are getting the additional health. And in fact, everybody on the team except Talia is getting additional health. So I do think I'm making very good use of that cybernetic bulk augment just to provide additional health for my whole team. Also mentioned the Jeweled Gauntlet or the Jeweled Lotus is nice because all of the multicasters can spell crit now. And then the support item, Sona, is, I think, a pretty good choice for the Obsidian Cleaver because her ult hits most of the board. She probably hits something like 50 to 70% of the units on the enemy team when she casts her ability. And she does multicast it. Remember, she casts it twice. So anything she hits is going to have their magic resistance and their armor, but that's kind of irrelevant. Going to have their magic resistance cut by 30%. And that lasts for 15 seconds, so it's pretty much the whole fight. So she's going to be shredding the whole enemy team and removing their magic resistance. So as I said, I think my overall setup is not bad. It's just it's taken me so long to get to this point in time that I've lost almost the entirety of my health. And then stuff like this happens. I've cycled back around to the rogue team again. Like, I'm going to keep hitting this board. And now they've hit 3-star Kiana as well. And, like, I'm just not in a position to beat this board. Maybe later on if my units are stronger, but definitely not yet. So the Kiana and the Graves get in the back line and they kill everything. At least I managed to kill everything else. But I'm down at 17 health. And, like, I am pretty much in last place. I guess there's one other person at 11. It's just like, man, this has been such a frustrating game because I just feel like I have not been given the tools I need to succeed in this game. The goal when you're playing this board is you really want to 3-star your multicasters. By the way, here I'm still trying to get this Radiant item on Jarvan, and eventually I was like, all right, you know what? Radiant Spear of Shojin plus the Cleaver is actually pretty good for my setup. Sona's going to deal a decent amount of damage, and she's going to keep shredding the enemy team. Sona's a support unit, so she actually provides a buff to the rest of the team. Her ability deals damage, and it gives additional attack speed to allies. Let's see. Allies hit by her ability gain attack speed for the rest of combat. So she gives 25% attack speed at 2-star, going up to 35% at 3-star. Anyway, so we're going to look to pull something here from the emblem. And out of this, I'm trying to find a way to use this bow. So I was like, all right, let's go ahead and make the Giant Slayer. I think that's better than the alternatives. And then I have a leftover belt. So it's like, all right, let's just go ahead and put this on Talia. It's not a useful item. I wish I could swap the bow on Talia and the bow on Jarvan and the belt on Talia. I wish I could put the belt on Jarvan, but it is what it is. I'm not going to be able to do that. I am actually on 7 Talias, 6 Twisted Fate, so I'm not that far off from hitting one of these units as a 3-star. And remember, I still have the champion duplicator as well, so that's pretty handy. Again, if my front line can just hold up long enough, the multicasters are finally doing their thing. They actually do a lot of damage. Vel'Koz carries that fight. And one nice thing about Vel'Koz, so the what is it? He has the Thief's Glove. Thief's Glove provides additional crit chance. And remember, I have Jeweled Lotus, so I have the ability for spells to crit. So when he rolls decent items, like he did that round, he rolled a rapid fire cannon, and he rolled a Archangel Staff. When he actually rolls decent items, he actually deals a lot of damage. And by the way, there's a TF, so we can go and try to pick that up. I'm like, all right, let's just not fool around here. We're going to duplicate the TF. So there's TF 3-star, and then I'll get that Galio back again. And then I was going to keep rolling, but at this point I got down to 20 gold, and I was like, you know what? Let's get to level 8 and put in a Zir, and that's 5 strategists. That's going to be really, really strong because there's a huge spike from 4 strategists to 5 strategists. All right, so we're definitely starting to look a little bit stronger here. TF has the blue buff. Now, there's not much synergy between blue buff and Giant Slayer because there's more synergy between blue buff and like Spear of Shojin. But, you know, it is what it is. I had to do something with that bow. And so, yeah, it actually works out okay. And now that we have all the pieces together, now look how fast this board is starting to cut through the enemy team. As I mentioned, multicasters are overpowered in this patch. There's a Swain, but the odds of hitting Swain 3-star are like non-existent at this point in time because I'm going to be going to level 8 and I'm not going to find 5 more 2-cost units. By the way, the lobby's starting to get trimmed pretty closely here. There's multiple people on 1 HP. There's actually a lot of 3-costs out of the pool. We saw that person just hit 3-star Tarek. I think some other people have been re-rolling for 3 costs as well. So again, I do have pretty good odds. I'm already on 6 Sonas. I have decent odds to find the remaining Sonas. And I only need 1 more Talia as well. Now, if I could just get a decent item to put on that last slot for Twisted Fate, I really want something that's going to give him more damage. The absolute best would probably be Deathcap, because remember, he can already spell crit off of having Jeweled Lotus. So it's not like he needs a Jeweled Gauntlet. But anything along those lines would be good. Wow, again, look how close the fight is. It's just, we got to blast through the other team before they can beat us. That was a 6 Vanquisher board there. They're getting Vanquisher trait from, they have, yeah, I think they have like a Vanquisher emblem, and they're getting +1 trait from the, whatchamacallit? The free emblem that everybody gets. Anyway, there is a death cap, so that is obviously what I want. I'm like, come on, please let me get this. That's going to be a huge amount of ability power for Twisted Fate. Death cap is, I think, 75 AP right now. And then the strategist trait is going to give him, let me just read what is strategist. They've tweaked these numbers a couple different times. Right now, strategist 4 is the front 2 lines get a 600 shield, and the back lines get 40 ability power. Well, if I can get a Zir in, strategist 5 goes up to a 900 health shield, and then a 60 ability power for the back lines. So if he gets 60 AP from strategist 5, plus he gets 75 from the death cap, and then he also has Jeweled Gauntlet, so that or Jeweled Lotus, so it can all crit. That's pretty good stuff. All right, now we're getting into the late game. I have the possibility of hitting the Rogues team, so I'm going to start positioning for the Rogues team in every round because I think they're the strongest one in the lobby. So I'm going to try to position for that. That's why Twisted Fate is in the 3rd row. Give him some protection against Rogues jumping into the back line. But it turns out I have a Ghost round. I'm up against a Challenger player. This person had a very creative board. It was 6 Challengers, 6 Shurima. They had a Challenger emblem and a Shurima emblem. But we ended up tearing right through that board. They actually don't have a lot of frontline on that setup there. And we're able to bust through that. And then the Rogues player is going to knock out the Void player right there. So 8 Void going out in 5th place. Kind of surprising. Anyway, I am still looking to level. I'm trying to get to level 8. I want to put a 0 in. That's my goal. This round, I am guaranteed not to be up against the Rogue player, so I can actually reposition here if I want to. I think I realized that. I am actually going to be up against the exact same player again. 7 Challengers, 6 Shurima, so I'm guaranteed to be up against them. That means I can put Galio in a slightly better spot. Yes, that's still Galio 1-star, but he does tank a little bit better than you might think because he gets, 500 extra health from the Strategist emblem, and then he gets a 600 health shield from Strategist trait from being in the front line, so he can hold up there a little bit longer than you might expect. I mean, not a long time, but at least for a little while. Again, this is a Challenger board. Challenger boards always tax your front line, but oh, the CC! Talia gets the knockup on Samira, and that ends up winning the fight. Again, a really, really fast fight with damage just flying around like crazy on both sides. Anyway, so I'm going to continue leveling. Oops, I accidentally hit the wrong key. I meant to hit the F key for experience. I hit D for reroll. Whoops. So I reroll 1 time. At least it wasn't completely wasted because I was able to get a Vel'Koz there. So, I mean, I'm not close to Vel'Koz 3-star, but whatever. We might as well pick it up. Once we're level 8, we're clearly never going to get to level 9, so we might as well see. And getting Vel'Koz's does make it slightly easier to find more Sonas as well. Who's the closer one? All right, so what are we going to find here? We've got an item anvil. There's a Azir, so we'll just level and play that. Now we have 5 strategists, which is really strong. Here I wanted a frontline tank item, but there's really no good options here. Titan's Resolve would be the best. I do not need Evan Shroud. That's not going to do anything here. That's going to provide armor shred, but we're all magic damage, so that's not going to do anything. There's a Sona. So I just ended up taking Archangels. By the way, finally Galio 2-star, so I guess we'll take that. And 2-star Azir, well, that came pretty fast. I had no trouble finding Azir in this game, oddly enough. All right, I am up against the Vanquishers player, it looks like. And now that I have the 5 strategists, I've got that big shield for the front lines, and I have a tremendous amount of ability power for the back lines, which is really nice. So I just need Swain to hang in there for a little while. I do wish that my front line was a little bit stronger, but TF's going to get off one more cast, and oh my god, he absolutely blows up the back line when he gets that cast off. Wow, that is a lot of damage, Twisted Fate. He finally has really good itemization. It took the whole game to get there. And by the way, we're up to 7 Vel'Kozes, so we're getting kind of close on Vel'Koz as well. And there we go, 3-star Talia. All right. Finally hit the 3-star Talia. So now that my multicasters are finally hitting, after taking literally the entire game to get to the point where they'd hit, definitely starting to feel stronger. So Talia's ability knocks people up, seismic shove. She has really, really good crowd control. Unfortunately, the CC duration does not go up with more tiers in the trait, but the spell damage does go up by a good bit after she gets that. All right, so I am positioning for the rogue board. I knew I was going to hit this board. And the trick for playing against this setup is you want to put your carries in the third row. Third row, 1 tile off the bottom, and then put other units in the back center so that when the rogues jump to the back lines, they're going to jump and pull aggression onto those units. So like I have Galio in the back lines. He actually is not staying back there, but the Azir is actually picking up a lot of the aggression when rogues jump to the back line. Yeah, you see that the player is going to shift over to the center of the board. They now have 3-star Graves, 3-star Kiana, 3-star. I saw there was a 3-star Jace in the back there, and 3-star Katarina, and 3-star Echo. So they've 3-starred every single one of their rogues, plus they 3-starred the Jace as well. So their board probably should beat mine, in all honesty. Their board setup should probably be better than mine with 5 3-stars on their board. But yeah, they actually are not very tanky, and that's the one weakness of this setup is there's really not much tankiness on their board. So if they're not able to get on TF, he just kind of blows them up right away. Talia's crowd control has also been fantastic in this setup. All right, so out of these options here, I see that there's a Vel'Koz, and I'm like, all right, I want the Vel'Koz. Sorc Emblem, I don't really care that much about. Ionic Spark would have been good, except that I don't really need Ionic Spark for magic resistant shred because I've got the Sona. And this gets me to 8 Vel'Kozes, so I'm only 1 away. I will put the Sorc Emblem on Azir. That will make Azir into a Sorc, so he's going to get a little bit of extra AP out of that. And this puts me on 8 Vel'Kozes. I'm also on 8 Sonas. Now, if I could pick between the two, I would pick the Sona, because I think the Sona is the more important of the 2 units. Vel'Koz just has a Thief's Glove, but Sona has, I mean, she's got the Radiant Archangel. She has the Obsidian Cleaver. So yeah, I think her setup is better. All right, so I'm going to try to shift over here. Rogues look like they were on the left-hand side, although at the last second, looks like the Graves and the Echo got shifted over to the right. I think this is maybe not the best positioning because I probably should not have both Twisted Fate and Sona right next to each other. Fortunately, TF gets off one last attack that blows up the Graves. And yeah, I think TF probably should not have been next to Sona. I think it was dangerous to have both my carries next to each other. Anyway, this person's going to type that damage is outrageous. They're not wrong. Multicasters are very overpowered in this patch. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the 3-star Vel'Koz. And apparently hitting 3-star Vel'Koz caused this person to lose faith in the outcome of the game because they just end up quitting the lobby. So I'll type GG, and that's it. What an interesting game. I felt like my setup was so weak for almost the entire game. The items were just so bad throughout this game. All these gloves and bows and like stuff that I just could not use in this setup. Took forever to get items that I could actually use for my units, and it took forever to find the multicasters. I think I was going into the end of stage 3 with like still almost entirely 1-stars, but once I actually found the units, which again were uncontested in this lobby, no one was playing multicasters. It's like as soon as I actually put the board together, it just annihilated everything because multicasters are very overpowered in this patch. So Yeah, probably not going to be playing too much of this patch until they hotfix. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. Till next time, take care, folks.